Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7 o'clock. I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. I assume attendance is taken?
Yes.
Join with me at the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Comments from citizens? Seeing no citizens to make comments, I'll be closing that section. Moving on to public safety, city prosecutor.
No report.
No report. Police department. We have an activity report in our packets. Any questions or comments?
Chief, did you want to mention the officer you'll have for
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to swear in a part-time officer, have one opening. Some of you can connect the dots. This would be a part-time. His last name is Tarwater. His mom works at the vet clinic. I didn't know the young man, but came in, presented himself in a shirt and tie. So I was trying to sell me something. I said, "Can I help you, young man?" He said, "I'd like to send my application in." Spoke with him, fine young man, really like him. Single, just wants to get somewhere and learn how to be a policeman. And I'm encouraged by the fact that he rode with Bradley Harris for 2 nights. Bradley said that you can make something out of him, and he's already started calling him tap water. So I figure we're way ahead.
It's got a nickname already.
Tap water. So we'll probably look at getting him swore in on that, not next Monday night, but the next Tuesday night when we meet.
Okay.
Just a part-time position.
Any other for police department other than that? Any other questions or comments for the police department? You're moving on to fire department, activity reports in your packet. Saw the number of EMS calls.
Sheesh. We all look at January, we got that many already in February.
It's just been ridiculous, the EMS calls in February.
Unreal. We're talking 5, 6, 7 times a day now.
Wow.
That's our charging part.
I know, but
Just can't tell them no. I'm not.
Kind of hard.
Well, a lot of elderly were sick too, you know.
it's been a lot of breathing problem, that upper respiratory, which is tougher on, especially across 22 there.
Sure. Wow. Any questions for fire?
We had good response over there from the folks on that. We're one of, that Brandon Lynn backed into that pole,
No.
fire department rolled right out. Police department got the place kind of secure until the electric department get over there. I knew it was gonna be a long day when I heard Mark Mustang say over the radio to have a couple of boys bring me a 45-foot pole. I knew it was gonna be a long day.
I did have about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was over at US Bank when the lights flickered, and they went off over there, or in my office.
You could be confident in the fact that Charlie Johnson sat in his pickup and watched everything. It was kind of the white hat, looked to me like, of the operation, so I didn't stick around very long. I mean,
Sure.
Had a couple of young firemen had to figure out how to open garage doors again without electricity.
So that's strange.
That was probably a good education.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But you know, we're so fortunate, and I mean this, we're so fortunate to live in a community where, you know, we have enough folks to throw at a problem like that and equipment from the electric department to be able to fix it. And not just be hard down, you know, for a day or whenever someone decides. You have a problem like that, you can isolate the area and get that to where the electric department can get over there and do the voodoo that they do. And get those folks up and running.
They had pretty much everybody back on power in an hour,
Yep.
hour and a half. And then the last 4 buildings, I think, were on about 9:30 at night. It was a lot of overtime.
That did uncover a battery problem we had on the server, one of the servers in the police department that we need to address. I've already talked to Paul about that.
Sandy believed that she was the cause of it. By the time that the pole got in the transformer, she was trying to heat up her soup and hit start on the microwave. I said, well, I don't know, but I think the problem's a little bigger than you, the microwave. I'm not an electrician.
I think it was Thursday or Friday we let her know that wasn't it.
Moving on, emergency management.
I don't have a lot to report. Continue to serve on the committee for the update of the hazard mitigation plan. I was looking at going and trying to talk Danny into going to a training in Centralia on May 13th for rail car disasters. And I don't know.
That's not a Friday or nothing,
No, it's a Wednesday.
okay. It's not gonna be superstition, right?
It's a Wednesday. That's about it. But the training is free, the travel is. There's a lot of that.
Okay. Protective inspection.
We had 30, I counted, I'm not, 37 houses up for sale, which is down from December. I didn't call the realtors, I didn't plan to call and try and verify how close I am, but I didn't do that, so maybe next month. At this point, it's a week later, so.
Moving on to general government and finance. Economic development, there's a credit board meeting minutes in your packet. Gabe?
The final numbers are rolling in from the fundraiser, look to be about $3,000 profit or so. Have, from our contacts in the fund already, we've been put on a list of I believe it's an auto parts manufacturer that is looking for a building, and we've got one in our community that fits their needs, so we've been put on the prospect list. We'll see if that turns out. We're having at our next meeting, Bernie Andrews, who's the executive VP, and then Stacy Button, who's the new president of Columbia Ready. So they're going to stop in. Matt and I are going to do the Live Centralia tour with them and kind of show them around, especially since Stacy's brand new. Other than that, everything's moving right along for 2015 for us.
You guys have plans for the March speaker yet? Tim was talking about.
Tim came and talked to me if that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, is that secure or is that still?
He was coordinating that.
Okay,
So
so
I
it's
was
not
going
announced.
to pencil it in, but he's the one setting that up.
If you'd like to meet Stacy, the new our new president, she's a full-time staff person. She came from Arizona. When they were interviewing candidates, a couple of things they looked at were their abilities to promote entrepreneurial growth and also also to work with technology transfer from the university, that kind of thing. And her experience, and I can't remember the city, but her experience very nicely with that, and I think they got a good candidate. Be a nice chance to meet her. We're gonna do kind of modified Live Centralia, show her some of the sites that are available, get her to understand that we've got some unique things to offer. I mean, her office is in Columbia. Most of her pay comes from the city of Columbia and the Columbia businesses that are members of Ready. But in Centralia, we've got a different attitude about industrial development, and so I think it's important that she knows that we've got good rail access. We've got a community that's has just a different approach to it than Columbia. I'll leave it at that.
Any questions for you? Thank you, sir. Moving on to Park Board. There are meeting minutes from January 20th, as well as an agenda from the February 3rd meeting in your packet. Any questions?
They do intend to adopt their budget at the next full board meeting, so they'll be here with us plenty of time. We'll have their final answer. Great time to put it in for the March meeting.
Question, and backing up for just a second, sorry. Credits, have you got, that in the budget, is that, due again this year?
Yes.
It was in the budget for this year,
Okay.
the credit payment.
Oh, is it going? Am I planning to include that in?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I am planning. I'm expecting to. I think the next in March they're going to make a
Okay.
specific ask, but yeah, the plan. I was assuming we would continue the same level of funding. It's in terms of when I was putting my budget together. That's what I was assuming.
Okay. Just need to get it done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If there's, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Cemetery report. The RFP for mowing.
yes. In your packet, there was a draft RFP for going out for bid for mowing at the city cemetery, Centralia City Cemetery. And attachment to that request for proposal was a draft contract, and then the other. Pardon me, I had a brain freeze. The other attachment was the bid form. Just a little bit more. I wasn't here when we did it 3 years ago, but the idea to get the bids in to try and advertise it maybe as early as Wednesday in the Guard, assuming that you guys don't have a lot of changes. Have the submissions back in time to review it at the general government meeting next month. Pick have a recommendation for you guys to pick, and then a contract at the March meeting in time to get it done. We'd have to execute it in a day or two after that, but that really shouldn't be that hard.
This would be for next year's construction then, probably.
Well, the cemetery bid would
Cemetery.
Yes.
Never mind.
Yeah, they'd start, theoretically, the mowing season starts, the current contract ends on March 20th, so they'd, hop right into it, but we'd have the firm picked by that point anyway.
Okay.
Any comments, questions?
don't have any changes from this.
Great, good. We'll move forward.
The tree board. Assuming there is none. Is that a good assumption?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Library board, the meeting minutes are in your packet from the January 13th meeting.
We meet tomorrow night.
Yep. And then tomorrow's meeting is in there. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on to financial statements. Any questions or comments?
Well, I'm just kind of looking through the progress of the utilities. Things look good. The electric utility right now is being projected to come in only at about 97% of revenue from the budget. But that's kind of because we didn't have to purchase as much power, and my projection is that the costs would be about 98–97%, and we'd actually end up with a net as good or better than we predicted. So I'm not concerned, and I'm not expecting that we'll need to do anything in terms of, as you'd asked before, I don't see any need for any increase in rates in electric. The only rate increase has already been done that I see necessary for next year, and that was in solid waste. So the utility that is the lowest in terms of revenue is the water department. They look like they might only come in at 95% of projected revenue. I'm not concerned yet, but I mean, I don't think we'll have to raise rates or anything like that. But it's a little. They have more fixed costs as opposed to the electric department. We're going to buy more power and sell more power, and that's going to balance out better. There are, in a year where we use a lot of water, there'll be higher electric costs for pumping. But right now, I'm not concerned. But that's the one that is the lowest according to projection.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the financial statements? Hearing none, moving on to bills over $1,250. That occurs on page 75 of your packet. Any questions? Pretty small list.
Sharp one so far.
So far. Hearing none, moving on to any other general government?
I wanted to ask if you guys, I gave you a city administrator's monthly report. I don't know if you like that, I can continue to do it. I know you guys have enough to read. Just a couple things here and there. I'm not trying to brag. Just kind of. Well, the thing is that sometime I'll put something on there and you'll say, I didn't, just in case I hadn't told you about it before, you can catch it and see that I was up to this month.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
I'm sorry?
I don't think it's bad at all.
Okay. I can keep doing it. That was all I had under other general government items.
For the budget discussion.
Well, I wanted to spend time today talking about the decisions we need to make for stormwater. I still don't have the cost for the, Phil still hasn't gotten back a response from the, contractor for lining the pipe at the Jefferson, South Jefferson and, Good Out Chance. So the other, and the total amount we have that I'll have a better idea after a little I hope by next Monday. But we're looking at, I know that the Mile Street ditch and the project with Midland GIS are both about $30,000. We had $50,000 budgeted this year. We're not going to spend that, so some of that's going to carry over into next year. I'm hoping to say I'd like to have I'm not really ready to have the full discussion until I get all the information. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but I know that there's been interest expressed strongly in keeping the Mile Street Ditch project going. The overall plan by Midland is something that I know I would like to see, but maybe, I'm hoping in FY 2016 that having gotten kind of over the hump of doing one budget and gone through everything and actually get to the comprehensive plan, and maybe that would work better after we're done. So the other piece is this lining project. I just don't know enough to give you a good price. So I'd like to. So that's a long way of saying, can we put it off a week? I think I need to put it off a week before we have a good, intelligent discussion.
Well, I sure like to know what those prices are.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
concur.
I hate putting it. We're getting close to time to do stuff, so I'm aware of that.
Well, we can't make a decision without knowing the number
Right.
anyway, so.
And Phil really did think he'd have it by now. I think they said tomorrow.
Well, enough said. Any other budget discussions?
No.
A selection process for the consultant on Jefferson Street sidewalk project. There is a letter in the packet.
We have a couple different ways we can proceed. We can proceed with full request for proposals, and any engineering firm that is on their they will have two lists, and any firm that's on the pre-approved list of consultants is eligible for an RFP. Lubert Engineering, who did the work to help us get the grant, has applied for that. Her application is pending, and I have no doubt that she will be on the list and eligible for the request for proposal process. And we can do that. There's a different list, a smaller list, the LPA on-call consultant list. And I don't know if any of you guys clicked the link and looked at the list, but if we go with the on-call list, we can, since we're not using the firm that already, if we went with the on-call list, we'd be choosing a different firm than the one that drafted that did the preliminary work for the application. We could just pick one, but I think it would be better to have we can have an informal interview process. We still have to have criteria. We have to have the criteria before we meet with them, obviously, and they have to be, it has to be legitimate, and we have to legitimately, if we ask for, one of the questions is, what kind of experience do you have doing Safe Routes Schools grant? And they each list, 5 projects, 4 of them list 5 projects, and one of them lists 1, and we say the one with 1 has better experience than the others. That would put us at risk of, being somebody blowing the whistle, and throwing a flag, and making us do the process again. as long as it's pretty, as long as you're reasonably, as long as the criteria are well written and you follow them with, you know, you can defend your decision. We could call in, you know, firms to come interview, you know, I'd say within a month. We do have time to do the RFP process. It's just more work. If this was, and I think any of these, I know at least 4 or 5 of those firms that would easily be able to do a sidewalk project. It's not the most complicated thing in the world. And I think Christina Liebert could do it. If you guys want to go through the longer RFP process, I'd be happy to do that. But I'd prefer to do the easier process. So.
I think you're right.
Well, oh, go ahead.
And at this point, I mean, if her application is in the process, you think there would be some, how's it quick to let?
Well, she can get on the bigger list. I'm certain she'll get on that bigger list. The bigger, to pick from the bigger list, you have to go for a full request for proposal. Like, sort of like the one for
So the short list on the link were the highlighted ones?
Yeah, the on-call list, yeah. And all you can just have him come in, give him like 4 questions and do a quick interview and pick one. Now,
how does one get on the short list?
the on-call list? It has to do with how many projects you've done with MoDOT. It's not, I mean, there's a number of firms on there. I can't give you the exact, I could get you a better answer from MoDOT, but they have to have had experience, they have to go through an application process. MoDOT looks at whether or not they've done projects similar to this is for the local public agencies. So it's things that working with cities or counties. They have to have had some experience in that area. So MoDOT is convinced these guys can do it. And there are transportation. There's the traffic the traffic study group, and there's some of them that qualify for that. For like there's a separate funding source and project for doing traffic studies for where do you need to put in a traffic signal. And there's one list for that. There's another list for construction inspection. There's another list for streets and sidewalks, and I forget what the third, but there's a 4th. So they evaluate have they done projects in that area with local public agencies, and that's how you get on that list. So you have to apply, answer questions, go through a more strenuous process.
Well, realizing that designing sidewalks isn't exactly rocket science, and that Christina has already done some preliminary work on this, I would hate to see her cut out of the process. I'd rather go through because she's pending now, and what she lacks is taking an online course that they require. They don't have the online course ready yet, but they quit offering the class otherwise until the online course is available. And that should be available in the next month or so. She'll finish that up. She can go ahead, I mean, she's eligible to do this the way it stands now. All she has to do is finish out that online course, which she will do when it becomes available. And the question is when will it become available? They won't hold her up. To do it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather see us go through the long process, and because she does have familiarity with what we're talking about here. I think that's worth something.
Well, if nobody else has a opinion one way to go, I guess if we've got one council person or one alderman who feels that way, I'd be happy to go through the longer process.
I don't think even the long process is gonna be that difficult.
Putting together it depends upon how helpful the ODOT staff is, but
Yeah.
I imagine that I've done RFPs before, and it won't be it will be harder than the RFP for the cemetery, but it won't be the hardest thing I'll have to do here, that's for sure. All right.
Design process is almost easier than the RFP probably.
And the other thing would be to set up a committee to evaluate those applications. If we're gonna do the longer RFP process, it'll be, like, we can have that, we talked to the mayor about appointing that next week, but I was thinking that if there's some councilmen, I'd like to get Phil Hoffman on the project, and possibly Mike Forsey on that review committee with me, and then maybe a couple aldermen,
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll need to do that.
Does anybody here want me to put you, does anybody here want, well, if you're interested, let Tim know.
Oh, I mean, I'll do it, because I've got familiarity with the process. Landon, you interested?
Yeah, I probably would.
Alright.
Who did the engineering on the street?
Christina did.
So which one?
Switzerland.
Alright.
Anything more on that?
No, that's, you can go forward with that.
Okay. As Mayor Rice. I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I make a motion to.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.